The morning light streamed through the tall glass windows of Harper's diner, painting the checkered floor with long golden beams. It was the kind of classic small-town diner that seemed untouched by time. Red vinyl booths lined the walls. The faint aroma of coffee lingered in the air. And in the corner sat a silent jukebox that hadn't played a tune in years. But on this particular morning, peace was nowhere to be found. The familiar clink of spoons against coffee cups, and the soft murmur of conversation were shattered when three rough-looking men barged in. Their loud footsteps and heavy presence instantly drew all attention, pressing unease into the room. Customers shifted uncomfortably, some staring at their plates, others leaning back to avoid the men's gaze. At the center of their cruelty stood Clara, a young waitress in her early 20s. Her apron was tied tightly around her waist. Her hair gathered in a messy ponytail that spoke of too many long shifts. Clara had been working herself to the bone, juggling double shifts, scraping together enough to cover her mother's medication and rent. She had grown used to impatient voices and sharp words from strangers. But what unfolded that morning cut deeper than she had ever endured. The men singled her out. They mocked her movements, grabbed at her tray, and snickered when she nearly lost her balance with steaming cups of coffee. Their taunts weren't whispers. They were daggers spoken loud enough for every soul in the diner to hear. In that moment, Clara wasn't seen as a person, but as the butt of their cruel entertainment. The room, frozen with tension, watched but did nothing. No one dared to intervene. This was no longer just rudeness. It was humiliation at its rawest. Tears welled in Clara's eyes, but she forced herself to keep moving. Her trembling hands clutched plates like lifelines, praying she wouldn't drop them. Her chest ached under the weight of exhaustion, bills piling at home, the suffocating loneliness. And now the sharp sting of public shame. She felt invisible, except when someone wanted to break her down. If you believe kindness, respect, and second chances can truly change the world, pause for a moment. Like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Limitless Truth. Your support helps us continue telling stories that matter. Just when Clara thought she could no longer bear it, the bell above the diner's front door chimed softly. A new sound entered the room, the steady stride of heavy boots. A group of bikers stepped inside, their leather jackets marked with the unmistakable emblem of the Hells Angels. Skulls and wings gleaming under the sunlight. The air shifted instantly. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks hovered above plates, and the cruel laughter of the thugs cracked into silence. At the front of the group was Marcus, a broad man with streaks of gray in his beard and eyes that carried both sharpness and depth. His presence alone was enough to make people straighten in their seats. The rest of the bikers followed close behind, their steps deliberate, their silence louder than any shout. They weren't there to cause trouble. They weren't there to intimidate. They simply walked in as though they belonged. Yet everyone in the diner felt it. The energy had shifted. Marcus's gaze fell on Clara. She stood by the counter, her shoulders hunched, her cheeks flushed red with shame. He noticed the tears she was holding back. The way she clutched her order pad like it was her only anchor. Then his eyes moved to the table of thugs, who suddenly found their menace very interesting. Without a word, Marcus and two others slid into a booth near the back. Their very presence seemed to fill the diner with quiet strength. Enough to make the room exhale. But the men harassing Clara weren't finished yet. One of them, a lanky figure with tattoos winding up his arms, muttered a cruel remark as Clara walked past. When she placed their drinks on the table, he deliberately shoved his glass, sending cola spilling across the table and dripping to the floor. Clara's heart sank as she bent down to clean the mess, her humiliation complete. But then, a shadow fell over the table. A heavy hand landed on the thug's shoulder. It was Marcus. Towering above him, his presence swallowed the table whole. His voice was calm, steady, and low, but colder than ice. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. "She's working hard," he said. "You don't treat people like that. Not here." The entire diner went still. You could have heard a pin drop. Every pair of eyes locked on the scene. The thug tried to laugh nervously, but Marcus didn't move, his grip like steel. Around him, the other bikers had risen too. Silent, unrateable. But their loyalty clear as day. The thug's bravado crumbled. They stammered, tossed crumpled bills on the table, and scrambled for the door. Their footsteps faded quickly against the diner floor. As the door closed, the diner seemed to release one long, collective breath. The tension melted away, leaving behind something sacred, an unspoken moment of justice. Clara stood frozen, rag still in hand, her body trembling. Her eyes met Marcus's. He didn't ask for thanks. Didn't wait for recognition. He simply gave a single nod before sitting back down. But for Clara, that nod was everything. Relief, gratitude, and the reminder that goodness still existed. All flooded her at once. The bikers lingered for breakfast, filling the air with laughter and warmth, never once making Clara feel unsafe. And when it came time to leave, Marcus slid a thick wad of bills across the counter. More than Clara made in 2 shifts combined. She shook her head, trying to refuse. But Marcus only offered her a steady look. "Take care of your mother," he said softly. Then he turned and walked out with his brothers. Clara stood there long after they had gone. The sunlight spilling across the now empty booths, the folded bills pressed to her chest. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. She felt like a human being who mattered. Word spread quickly through the town. Not as a tale of violence, but as a story of respect. Of unexpected protectors stepping in at the moment kindness was needed most. For Clara, it was more than a shift gone differently. It was a turning point. A reminder that no matter how harsh and cruel the world can be, there will always be people willing to stand for what's right. If this story touched your heart, support Limitless Truth by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your voice keeps stories of hope, courage, and compassion alive. Now, I want to ask you, what would you have done if you were there? Would you have stepped in for Clara? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Who knows? Your words might inspire someone else to act with courage the next time they witness injustice. And so, Harper's Diner carried on. The coffee still brewed. Plates still clattered. Sunlight still streamed across the booths. But for Clara, the world felt brighter, lighter. Because on her darkest day, kindness had walked through the door wearing leather and steel, reminding her she was never truly alone.